Hi, I'm Ricky, and I'm on a mission to build a net zero house. First and foremost, we gotta go solar. And so today we are really excited because we're driving to Yuma, Arizona to pick up our solar panels. Now, one of the questions I've gotten from a lot of you is I wish solar was more affordable. And I have thought about this for a long time. And behind the scenes, we're building a new energy website. But one of the things we wanna do is find ways to bring the price of solar down. So the company we're meeting with today is called Solar Steels, and they have a couple of different warehouses. They have one in Arizona. So we're driving out there today to pick up used solar panels. Now they pretty much work with really good high-end panels that are just a couple of years old. So we're picking up 30 410 watt Trina panels today. The reason why it's such an interesting idea is because if I were to buy these panels new, it would cost $12,000. And instead, I'm paying just under $5,000, which is a $7,000 savings. And that is one of the easiest ways you can lower the price of solar. So today, join us in this Ford F-150 Lightning. Huge thanks to Ford for lending us this car for a day. This is the lower range truck. It has about 220 miles of range as opposed to the longer 300 mile range, bigger battery option. So we're gonna pick up about 1,500 pounds in solar panels and drive back. So I've reset the computer and we're gonna track our efficiency on the way there, unladen, and then on the way back, with a full pallet of solar panels. And we have 157 miles to go, and the car is only showing 186 miles. Now, my concern is if I go 80 miles an hour, we're gonna get less than that as we eat more of our range due to the air drag at higher speeds. But we have another problem too. There's only 2 EA charging stations on the way to Arizona. One is in Yuma at a Target, and I just opened the app, and I promise you, yesterday when I checked, it was fine and available, and now it's showing as unavailable, the entire station. So that means we are forced to charge both ways in El Centro. So that's where we're gonna stop and charge. And right now, what's even worse is it's showing that that station is full. So we'd have to wait to then charge. We've gone 38 miles so far, and our efficiency is actually pretty bad. We're looking at 1.5 miles per kilowatt hour, and I think that's largely due to the fact that we just climbed to about 3,600 feet, and we actually were seeing 1.4, and now we're coming back downhill. Now, the reality is even at 190 miles of stated range, can we get to Yuma, Arizona on a single charge? I don't know that I would feel comfortable, so luckily we're gonna charge at El Centro no matter what, but it would be interesting. Let's see what happens between now and El Centro, which is 63 miles away. We'll come back in a little bit. I'm not so sure if this is a mountain or just a pile of rocks, actually. Is there a difference? I'm not sure. All right, quick update. We are now at 1.8 miles per kilowatt hour, up from 1.4 earlier. And that's because now we have a 6% slope and we're recovering that range. Try doing that in a non-electric vehicle, but so we're still a little under where I'd like to be, but yeah, let's see what happens over the next couple of miles. We are closer now to where we'd like to be. It doesn't really matter too much for this leg because we're gonna make it just fine to El Centro. El Centro is probably 40 miles from here. The problem is going to be from El Centro to Yuma and then back to El Centro is how far one?
63 miles.
So 120 miles. So now that 120 miles is gonna be with the solar panels on board, and then we're gonna have to stop again and charge for probably 45 minutes or something, we'll see. So bottom line is this trip is gonna take an extra 2 hours because of the fact that the car needs to charge twice. Okay, so we just pulled into El Centro. We've traveled exactly 100 miles and we have an average of 2 miles per kilowatt hour, which means we use 50 kilowatt hours of energy. Now, for the moment of truth, are we gonna have to wait to charge? No, there's two. Looks like there's a Mach-E and ID4, cool colors of those two, and I think there's a spot right there. San Diego to El Centro, 100 miles, 2 miles per kilowatt hour. We've got nothing but me and Juan inside the car. And now I'm gonna set the charge limit to 100%, and we're gonna charge this truck all the way up just to be safe. So 100% charging by 2:23. Oh man, that's really bad. We'll let them know it'll be about an hour delayed. So while we're charging to 100% just to be safe, we'll go get some lunch. We'll see what happens. All right, we're now 11 miles from our destination in Yuma, Arizona, and we are doing 1.8 miles per kilowatt hour on this step. And there's something interesting that I just came across I wanted to share with you guys. Here in the settings, under trip energy, it'll break down how much the climate is using, actually driving the distance is using, and then accessories. And what I figured out is this accessories number was really high. And then if you go to Pro Power on board, when it's on, it actually uses a fair bit of energy. And when I turned it off, I noticed my efficiency improved a little bit. Now, it could be a lot of factors. I don't know if it was just the hill that I was on. But if you're not using anything, leave that off. I think that'll probably get you a little better range. Also, a little bit of good news, the Electrify America station in Yuma is now showing as available. Every spot is in use, but it's back to being online. Now, seeing it go from online last night to offline today and now online again, I just don't have that confidence. And that's why I have the EA app open. The only app I would trust with EA is the EA app. I wouldn't trust what the car says. But even then, I don't know. This is part of the adventure of not having a Tesla is the charging is just much more of an adventure. All right, solar panels procured. Next stop, San Diego via EA. Let's go. Okay, we have our solar panels. We're driving back to El Centro. We've done 26 miles. We have 36 remaining so far. Our average is 1.7 miles per kilowatt hour. That's down from an average on the first part of the trip that was 2. So we're down a little bit from there, but all in all, not bad considering we are hauling 1,500 pounds. And also those solar panels are like a big refrigerator, so they really hurt the aerodynamics as well. And if you listen really closely, you can hear that howling, like that's the vortices being shed off the back of the panel. So there's definitely an aero drag penalty we're taking, which is the bigger part of it. I don't think the rolling resistance from the weight is as substantial. So all in all, pretty good. So also this truck, I keep forgetting I'm doing anything different. In fact, it doesn't feel much different. The brakes work really well. It doesn't roll anymore. The motors are more than powerful enough. So if you're hauling on the regular, the F-150 Lightning is more than up to the task and you'll barely even notice you're doing it. I remember now when I was in Michigan at their proving grounds, we were towing a trailer. I had the same feeling, like after about 5 minutes, I forgot we were doing anything special at all. And it's not until you look back in the rearview mirror that you remember. So job well done to the Ford team for making it that way. Now the penalty on range, let's wait till the end and we will give you a report. But right now, 1.7 miles per kilowatt hour. All right, so we ended up charging at this same EA station both ways in El Centro, about 100 miles from San Diego and 65 miles from Yuma. Now on this particular time, I pulled in over here, and this is a 350 kilowatt charger. Now I used this cable, plugged it in, and I was getting 28 kilowatts, which is really slow. And on the car, it told me 90% will happen at 8 o'clock at night. That's like 2.5 hours from now. So I knew something was wrong. And I decided, okay, let me try another station. So I moved right over here into a 150 kilowatt station, which should be slower, but now I'm getting 124 kilowatts and I'll be at 90% by 6:30. So we just had our first error. Luckily I was in the truck when it happened, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but it says charging session error to unplug it and plug it back in. So the truck is not charging right now. Now let's try that again. This is the sort of thing that I think gets EA a bad name. It's by and large pretty good, it's working, but you know, these kinds of things happen. Again, if you were having dinner out at a restaurant, this would be a huge issue because you'd think the car was charging and it wasn't, right? So luckily we were here and I noticed it because I'm watching this. I don't want to wait here any longer than I have to. But yeah, there's just a little bit of cleaning up and a little more reliability that has to happen before the third-party networks outside of Tesla catch up and are as reliable. All right, so let's remind ourselves what we did today. We went out to Yuma, Arizona, about 320 miles round trip with the Ford Lightning to get this about 1,500 pounds worth of solar panels. So here's the data. On the way there, with nothing in the bed, just me and Juan, we were getting 2 miles per kilowatt hour, which means our total range would have been about 196 miles. So they're telling us that we would get 230 miles. We didn't get that. We got about 30 miles less than that. That's pretty normal. And on this trip, we rose up to about 4,000 feet and back down. It was 110 degrees out, so the AC was blaring the entire time. All in all, pretty good range. And then with the panels on the way back, we got 1.7 miles per kilowatt hour, which means that the range would have fallen from 230 miles to 166 miles, but still pretty decent. But the challenge really comes down to charging availability. We had to charge in El Centro both ways. So as a result, we had to charge and wait a little bit longer to charge it to full 90% before we left to make sure we could make it back. And because I didn't know what to expect when I was hauling, I wanted to be safe and charged it more than I needed to. So we have 50 miles left. As I mentioned, if you were going to go home right now, you would have charged twice on this trip, gone home, plugged in your garage, been done with your day. But because we got to get this car back to Ford tomorrow, we got to fill this up before we go back. So as a result, we had 3 charging stops, each on average about 35 minutes, which is not terrible. But if this was a gas truck, you would have saved yourself an hour to an hour and a half on this trip, which is a lot of time, to be fair. So the first thing I would say, get the Ford Lightning with the bigger battery pack. All the other features I don't really care for, but I wish it had the 320 miles of range, the bigger battery pack. But driving this thing with all this weight and everything else was a breeze. It was really windy on those mountain passes, and nothing was much of a challenge at all. It just soaked it up, and the trip went by really quickly. Felt very confident. You can slam on the brakes. The brakes were really good. Suspension, all of it. Pretty amazing truck. And now we have our solar panels for our house. This is the first time we've actually put it to work, and man, I wish I had one. I'm really tempted because this would just be the perfect crew truck. There's room for 5, all of our gear. The frunk is a safe place to put our cameras and stuff. We had a blast. Juan, did you have fun? Pretty good trip. So thank you guys for watching, and be on the lookout. We'll be dropping videos about solar coming up, our plans, our permitting process, our microinverters. Now that we have the panels secured, that comes next. We have a SPAN smart meter going in. We'll link if that's already out by the time this video goes out. Tons of really awesome home stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Ricky with Vinci, and we'll catch you guys next time.